Every 20 years, the moon is believed to descend to the earth in search of a bride. Legends say the chosen bride disappears into the moonlight and never returns. Most villagers treat it as a folktale, until one night. People think it begins with a festival, with drums and laughter, with palm wine spilling into calabashes. But for me, it began 3 nights before, when the moon bled. I was standing outside our hut, fetching water from the clay pot, when I looked up and froze. The moon, usually white and calm, burned red like a coal pulled straight from the fire. It was so low I felt if I climbed the nearest palm tree, I could touch it. The air grew cold, and the hairs on my arms stood. Behind me, my mother hissed sharply, "Don't stare at it. Do you want it to see you?" She pulled me inside and slammed the wooden door. Her hands shook as she muttered a prayer, her lips dry, her eyes darting like a trapped goat. That was when I remembered the story. The elders always whispered it to frighten children into staying indoors during the festival of the moon. Every 20 years, the moon comes down to choose its bride. Whoever the light touches at midnight will be taken away. They never return. I had laughed at it once. But that night, something shifted inside me. The following evening, strange things began to happen. When I went to the river to fetch water, my reflection wasn't mine. It was me, but older, dressed in a flowing white cloth, with a veil covering my face. The moment I blinked, the water went dark, swallowing the reflection. I stumbled back, spilling the water, my heart hammering. And then came the dreams. Each night, I saw a palace made of silver hanging in the sky. Faceless women in white wrappers circled me, their bare feet making no sound on the glowing floor. They hummed, a song without words, but I could feel the sorrow in it. At the center of the palace sat a throne of light, and from it, a pale hand stretched toward me. I always woke up drenched in sweat, my wrapper clinging to me, my breath loud in the silence of the hut. By the 3rd night, the entire village felt it too. Dogs wailed at the sky. Palm trees bent as though pushed by invisible hands. People whispered that the year of the bride had come again. But I tried to deny it. I told myself it was just a tale, just fear. Until the festival. The night of the full moon, the village square was alive with drumming and dancing. Masks swayed, fires burned, and the elders poured libations to appease the gods. Everyone tried to act normal, but I could see it in their eyes, the fear of who the moon would choose. I danced among the crowd, trying to hide my trembling. But then, everything stopped. The drums fell silent. The flutes cut off mid-note. Even the wind seemed to die. A cold light spilled into the square, brighter than any torch. I didn't need to look up, I knew where it came from. The moonlight formed a perfect circle on the ground, glowing, waiting. And then it moved. Slowly, like a hand searching in the dark, the circle of light slid across the ground, over the feet of dancers, past the elders, across the dust of the square, until it stopped. On me. The crowd gasped. My heart turned to ice. "The moon," an elder whispered hoarsely. "The moon has chosen its bride. They say when the moon chooses you, you are no longer part of the living." At first, I thought it was only fear, only stories. But that same night after the festival, I realized the truth. When I reached home, I noticed my shadow was gone. The oil lamp burned dim in our hut, yet on the floor, where my shadow should have stretched, there was nothing. My mother gasped and pressed her back to the wall, whispering, "It has begun, it has begun." She refused to let me touch her. The days that followed were worse. Whenever I looked into water, whether the river or even the clay pot in our hut, I never saw my face. Instead, I saw her, the older woman in the white wedding cloth, her veil dripping with silver light. Sometimes she raised her hand to her lips as if to silence me. Other times, she beckoned. Each time I screamed, but no one else could see what I saw. Children in the village stopped playing near me. When they saw me, they whispered, bride of the moon, and ran. Women crossed to the other side of the path when I walked. Even my father avoided my eyes, his face heavy with sorrow, as though I were already gone. And then the voices began. On nights of the full moon, I heard them outside my hut, soft, sorrowful voices humming. When I peeped through the window, the moonlight seemed thicker, almost alive, swaying like mist. Sometimes, faint silhouettes of women in veils stood in the light, their heads tilted unnaturally as they stared toward my hut. I could not sleep. One night, I heard a voice clearer than the rest. It called my name, stretching it, echoing it, near. Nana, it was deep, not like a man's voice, not like a woman's either. My skin crawled as I pulled the wrapper over my head, trembling. The next day, I begged the elders to help me. They sat beneath the ogbu tree, their faces grim. I cried and told them of the voices, the missing shadow, the reflection in the water. One of them, his beard white, spat on the ground and shook his head. "None of us can help you, child," he said quietly. "You have been marked. If you run, the moon will follow. If you hide, it will find you. Only one path remains." "What path?" I asked desperately. He did not answer. Instead, he rose and walked away slowly, as if my question was too heavy for his tongue. That night, the dream returned. I was in the Silver Palace again. The faceless brides circled me, but this time their humming was louder, more urgent. Their veils swayed violently as if in a storm. One of them reached out and touched my arm, it burned like fire. I screamed, and they all stopped circling. Slowly, together, they raised their hands and pointed to the throne of light. The pale hand stretched again, but this time, the light around it paused. A voice, deep and echoing like thunder, filled the air. "Bride, your time draws near." I jolted awake to find the moonlight inside my hut. Not shining through the window, no. It was seeping through the walls, crawling like silver smoke, wrapping itself around my feet. The floor beneath me glowed, and my body rose against my will. The moonlight pulled me outside. The whole village was awake now, standing at their doorways in silence, watching as I drifted toward the square. When I reached the center, the sky split open. The moon was so low it almost touched the earth, blinding in its brightness. From it descended a towering figure, veiled, faceless, its body shimmering like liquid silver. It stretched a hand toward me. "Come, bride. Your place is with us." I trembled. My knees shook, my breath caught in my throat. Behind me, villagers wept, some begging me to go, others pleading for me to resist. My heart thundered. The faceless brides appeared around me again, their veils floating in the air. They hummed their sorrowful song, circling me. I knew I had two choices. If I reached out and touched that hand, I would vanish into the silver light, another faceless bride in the palace of the moon. My village would be spared, but I would never return. If I resisted, I remembered the elder's silence, perhaps the silence meant there was a way. A mad woman's voice echoed in my head, "Spirits fear the living heart that refuses." I clenched my fist, raised my voice, and shouted into the moonlight, "I am not your bride." The silver figure shrieked, a sound that shook the earth. The faceless women scattered like smoke. The light around me cracked, breaking like glass. The moon above dimmed, its glow flickering. With a final scream, the figure dissolved into mist, vanishing back into the sky. The night grew dark again, dark in a way I had never seen. The moon was gone. For the first time in memory, the sky was empty. No moon, only stars. The villagers fell to their knees in awe and fear. Some whispered that I had saved them. Others whispered that I had cursed us all. As for me, I stood in the darkness, my skin cold, my breath shaky. When I looked into the river the next morning, I saw myself again. But my eyes were no longer mine. They glowed faint silver, like the moon that had died. And deep inside, I heard a faint humming, reminding me that though I had resisted, the moon was not finished with me.